Sham Sharadava Nalalidaloka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Sham Sharadava Nalalidaloka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Prapta Sakalyana Gunanavasya Bande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Prapta Sakalyana Gunanavasya Bande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Vande Gurashi Mahaprabhu ki Tana Nitya Gita Vaditra Madhyam Manasura Sena Romanchakam Pasru Taranga Vajo Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana Shringara Tanama Niramarjanado Jukta Sabhaktam Sa Niyunjatopi Bande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Chaturvidhashi Bhagavat Prasada Satvana Truptan Hari Bhakta Sangha Chaturvidashi Bhagavat Prasada Satvana Truptan Kritva eva trupte Bhajata Shadeva Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Shri Radhikama Dabayurapara Madhurya Leela Gunarupanamna Shri Radhikama Pratikshana Swa Dhanalalupasya Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Ne kunjayono Ratikeli Siddhai Jayali Veri Juktir Apekshaniya Ne kunjayono Ratikeli Siddhai Jayali Veri Tatrati Daksha Ativalavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam. Sakshadharitena Samastashrashre Ruktastathava Vyataiva Sadhuve. Kintu pravarja priya eva tasya bande gurashi charanara vrindam. Yasya prasada bhagavat prasada Yasya prasadam nagati kutapi. Yasya prasada bhagavat prasada. Yasya prasadam nagati kutapi. Dayam stuvam tasya yasatrin sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam. Dhyayam stuvam tasya yasatrin sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitina Mine Nama. Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachatadisha Tarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Nama Krishna Jadavaye Nama, Jadavaye Madhavaye Kesavaye Namah. Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan, Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan, Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita, Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita, Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raguna, Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasaraguna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Sheshe Radha Nila Madhava Radha Nila Madhava Radhi Radha Nila Madhava Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadrama Jaya Sudarshan Chakra Jagannath Baladeva Jaya Subhadrama Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Sitaram, Sitaram, Jaya Lakshman Hanuman, Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Jayo Lakshmi Narasingha, Lakshmi Narasingha, Jayo Prahlad Maharaj, Lakshmi Narasingha, Lakshmi Narasingha, Jayo Lakshmi. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Haribo. Jai Vishnupara Paramsa Prabhajakacharya Sutara Sarasi Shimad, His Divine Grace Abhochar Vina Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Pratishta Vividi Samstapakachar Vaishnav Saramani Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada Ji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Gauriya Guru Varga Apatiti Udhari Ki Jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunatha Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Guna Sadguru Swami Prabhu Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ji Ki Jai. Ananta Kuti Vaishnavrind Ki Jai. Premi se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shubhasari Gaur Bhakta Vrind Ki Jai. जय परम दयाल श्री नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय। प्रेम नाम संकीर्तन के जनक प्रेम पुरुषोत्तम श्री सच्चिनंदन श्रीमन गौरांग चैतन्य महाप्रभु गौर हरि महावृनाय अवतार की जय। गोलोकेर प्रमधान हरि नाम संकीर्तन जय की जय। जुग धर्म हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। बृहदांग ट्रांसलेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सेवा की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गुप्ता राधा कुंद श्याम कुंद गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जय। श्री ब्रज वृंदावन मथुर धाम की जय। तिलोच श्री राधा नील माधव की जय। श्री मायपुर नवद्वीप एक चक्रधाम की जय। परम करुण श्री गौर निताय की जय। श्री पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी बलदेव प्रभु श्रीमद सुभद्रा देवी सुदर्शन चक्र भगवान की जय। जगंगा माय जमुना माय की जय। तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री मथुरा रानी की जय। समवेत भक्तबिंद की जय। निताय गौरी प्रमानंद हरि। All glories to the assembly bodies, all glories to the assembly bodies, all glories to the assembly bodies, all glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru Shri Gauranga Hari.
It's okay. Sure. Namaste Narashinhaya. Prahalada Lada Daine. Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha. Shilatankana Kalaye. Ito na Shringha Parato na Shringha. Yato yato yamitato na Shringha. Bahir na Shringha Hriday na Shringha. Narshingha Mardim Sharanam Prapade. Tavakara Kamalavare Naka Adhuta Shingham Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringam Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha.
Jaya Narasimha Dev, Jaya Narasimha Dev, Jaya Narasimha Dev, Jaya Narasimha Dev.
Jaya Narasimha Dev, Narasimha Dev, Jaya Narasimha Dev. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj.
Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj.
Nrsingadev Bhagavan ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Go Premanandi.
Jai. Shri Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pravidevi Shatavataye Namaha. Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pravidevi Shatavataye Namaha. Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pravidevi Shatavataye Namaha. Srimati Tulasi Maharani Vrindadevi ki.
Namo Namaha.
Tulasi Krishna
Radha Krishna Seva Pabo Eya Bilashi.
Radha Krishna Seva Pava Eya Vinasi.
Radha Krishna Seva Pabo Eya Bilashi.
Radha Krishna Seva Pava Eya Vinasi.
Ye tomara sharan loy tara vanch purna hoy. Kripa kori koro tare Vrindavanavasi.
Kripa
मोरा ये अभिलाष विलास कुंजे दियो वास नयने हेरी बो सदा युगल रूपरासी ए निवेदन दारो सकीरानुघाता कोरो सेवाधिकारा दिए कोरो निज दासी दीना कृष्ण दासे कोई ये न मोरा होय श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेमे सदा ये न बासी यानी कानी च पापानि ब्रह्म हत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणशन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे यानी कानी च पापानि ब्रह्म हत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणशन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय तुलसी महारानी जय वृंदा देवी जय तुलसी महारानी जय वृंदा देवी जय वृंदे जय वृंदे जय वृंदे जय श्री वृंदे नित्याय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्याय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्याय गौर हरि बोल।
वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशव सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्राणे देवी शतवताय नमः। वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशव सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्राणे देवी शतवताय नमः। वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशव सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्राणे देवी शतवताय नमः। श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। O Tulasi, beloved Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire to obtain the service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter with his wishes fulfilled, bestow your mercy upon him, you make him resident of Vrindavan. My desire is that you also give me a residence and pleasure groves of Shri Vrindavan Dham. Thus within my vision I will always behold the beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg to grant me a follow of Kavidanta of Raj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maid servant. This very fallen and lowly servant Krishna praise. May I always fame and love Shri Radha Govinda Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shri Krishna ki jai. Shakti Tatra Pita Nimitam Shmaranina Kala Adishita Bhakti Pram Bhagavan Mamapi Tudunai Vami Krishna Yajamina Trinada Pisunichena Tarora Pisa Ishnana Amanina Manadina Kirtaniya Sada Hari न धनम न जनम न सुंदरीम कवितम व जगरी शकामयी मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरी भवतार भक्ति रहितु की त्वयि अयि नंदतनुज किंकरम परितमां विश्वमे भवां बुधौ कृपया तव पाद पंकज सितादुलि सदृशं विचिन्तय नयनं गलोरशोधारय वादनं गदगदहृदया गिर पुलकारिचितं वपुकद तव नाम ग्रहणे भविष्यति जुगयितं निमिषेण चक्षुषा प्रवृषयितं शून्ययितं जगत् सर्वं गोविन्द विरहेण मे अश्लीषवापादरतं पिनष्टु माम् अदर्शनान् मन्महतं करोतु यथा तथा वा विदधातु लम्पतो मत्प्राणतस्तु स एव न परो। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु श्री कृष्ण की जय। नमो महावदनाय कृष्ण प्रेम। Glory to Sri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleansed the heart of the dust accumulated for years and extinguished the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan moment is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we're always anxious. O my Lord, Your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings. And thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There is no different hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names. But I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. Once we chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself a Lord on a strolling street, one should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer our respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your cause that devotes myself is birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I'm falling in this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes will be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? Will my voice choke up, and will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I feel all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he should remain so, even if sunders me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shri Shri Shikyastakam Ki Jai. There are 10 offenses in the matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that should be avoided. They are as follows. 1. To blaspheme devotees who dedicate their life for propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider the names of the demigods, Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic literature or literatures and pursuits of Vedic version. 5. To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretation on the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. 8. To consider the chanting Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in Vedas as fruitive activity, karma kanda. 9. To instruct the faithless person about the glories of holy name. And 10. To not have complete faith in chanting the holy names, and to maintain material attachments, even for understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must carefully guard against stand offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prema. Now let us offer our harmless humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnavas, devotees of the Lord. They are just of desired trees, they can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls.
Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Vaishnava Thakur Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tanami. Namaste Saraswati Devi Guruvani Pracharane Nirvisesa Sunyavari Paskati Rasatara. Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Janmadya Sayato Niviyad Itaratas Charte Swavigyaswarat. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adhikavaye Muyanti Yatsurayaha. Tejo Vari Madam Yata Vinimayo Yatrati Sargo Misha. Dam Nasvina Sada Nirastakuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi. O my Lord Shri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes. of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all
He is
manifestations.
directly and indirectly conscious of all
And he is independent
manifestations.
because there's no other cause
And
beyond
he
him.
is independent because there's not a cause
It
beyond
is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart
It
of
is
Brahmaji,
he only first imparted Vedic knowledge into the heart of
the
Brahma.
original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion.
By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed
As
into
one is
illusion.
bewildered by the illusory
As
representation
one is bewildered by the illusory
of water seen in fire or
representations
land seen on water.
of water in the fire or land in the
Only
water.
because of him do the material universes,
Only because of him do the material
temporarily
universes
manifested by reactions of the three modes of nature,
temporarily manifested by the reaction of three modes of nature.
appear factual, although they're unreal.
IPA factual, although the
I
unreal.
therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna,
I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri
who is
Krishna,
eternally existent in a transcendental abode,
who is eternally existent in transcendent,
which is forever free from the illusory representations in the material
which
world.
is forever free from the illusory
I
representation.
meditate
of material
upon him, for he is the absolute
world. I
truth.
meditate upon him, for he is the absolute.
Dharma projita kaitra
Dharma prajita kaitavutta.
paramo nirmatsanam satam
Paramo nirmashranam satam.
vedyam vastavam atra vastu
Vedyam vastavam astravastu.
shivadam tapa trayon moon
Shivadam taputam.
Shrimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite
Shrimad Bhagavate
Kim
Mahamuni.
Vaparir
Kim
Ishwaraha
vaparirishvara.
Sadyo Hride Avarudhyate Tra
Sadyurudya
Kriti
vridyatitra.
Vihi Sususubhistakshana,
Kritivihi shushushuvishtatra.
completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially
Completely
motivated.
rejecting all religious activities from
This
material
Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth,
This Bhagavata Purana Pipanga
which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries.
Such reality uproots the threefold
This
miseries.
beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity,
This beautiful Bhagavatam comparably with such
is sufficient in its self-regard realization.
Is sufficient itself for God.
What is the need of any other
What is
scripture?
the need of the other
As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of
As soon as
Bhagavatam,
one attentively and submissively hears the message
by this
of
culture of knowledge,
by this culture of
the
knowledge,
Supreme Lord is established within his heart.
the Supreme Lord is established
Nigama
within his heart.
kalpataro galitam phalam. Sukhamukad amrita dravya samyutam.
Sukamukad Mritatra
Pibata Bhagavatam rasamalayam.
Pibata Bhagavatam
Muhur
Rasam.
aho raskabu
Muhur
vibhagavaha.
ahur sikab.
O expert and thoughtful man, relish Srimad
O
Bhagavatam.
expert and thoughtful man, relish Srimad
The
Bhagavatam.
mature fruit of the desire to read Vedic literatures.
The mature fruit of the desire to
It
read.
emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami.
It emanated from the lips of Sri Shukadeva.
Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful.
Therefore, this fruit has become even
Although
more
its
tasteful.
nectarian juice is already relishable
Although
for
its
all,
nectarine juice was all relishable for all,
including liberated souls.
including liberated souls.
Shinvatam Swakata Krishna,
Shrimvatam Swakata
Punya
Krishna.
Shravana Kirtana,
Punya Shravana
Hiryantak Stohi Bhadrani,
Vidyanta Suhya
Vidunati Srihitsatam.
Vidunati Surisata.
To hear about Krishna from Vedic literatures,
To hear about Krishna from the
or to
Vedic
hear from him
literature,
directly through the Bhagavad Gita,
or to hear from him directly from the Lord.
is itself righteous activity.
It is self-righteous.
And for one who hears about Krishna,
And for one who hears about
Lord Krishna, who is dwelling within everyone's heart,
Lord Krishna dwelling within everyone,
acts as a best wishing friend
access the best
and
wishes,
purifies the devotee who constantly engages in hearing of him.
and purifies the devotee constantly engages in
Nasta
hearing.
presu bhadresu
Nasta Prayeshava
nityam bhagavata sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Seva
bhagavati uttamasloke
Bhagavati Uttama
bhaktir
Sloke
bhavati naistaki.
Bhakti Bhavati Naistaki.
In this way, the devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental
In
knowledge.
this way, devotee naturally develops dormant.
As he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam
As he hears more about Krishna from
and
Bhagavatam
from the
and
devotees,
from the
he becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord.
he becomes fixed in the gospel.
Tadarajastamo bhava
Tadarajastamo bhava,
kamaloba dayaschaye
Kamaloba
chete
dayaschaye,
taranabidam
Chetaitaranavida,
stifam sattve prasidati.
Stitam Sattve Prasiddhi.
By development of devotional service,
By development of devotional
one becomes
service,
freed from the modes of passion and ignorance,
one becomes free from the modes of passion and ignorance.
and thus material lust and avarice are diminished.
And as material lust and avarice are diminished.
Evam prasana manaso
Evam Prasanamana
bhagavat bhakti yogataha
Bhagavat Bhakti Yoga
bhagavat tattva vigyanam
Bhagavat Tattva
mukta
Vijnana,
sangasya jayate.
Mukta Sangha
When these
Siddhati.
impurities are wiped away,
When these impurities are
the
wiped,
candidate remains steady in his position of pure
the
goodness,
candidate remains steady in his position of
becomes
goodness,
enlivened by devotional service,
becomes enlivened by
and
devotion,
understands the science of God perfectly.
and understands the science of God perfectly.
Vidyate hridaya grantis,
Vidyate Hridaya
chidyante
Grantis,
sarvasamsaya,
Chidyante Sarvasamsaya,
siyante chasya karmani,
Chidyante Chasakarmani,
drista evat manisware,
Dhruva et
Thus, Bhakti Yoga severs the hard knot of material affection
Thus, the Bhakti Yoga severs the hard knot of material
and enables one
affection
to come at once to the stage of a samsayam samagram,
and enables one to come at once to the stage of
understanding of the
samsara.
Supreme Absolute Truth Personality of Godhead.
Understanding supreme absolute truth, personality of God.
Therefore, only by hearing from Krishna or from his devotee in Krishna consciousness
Therefore, only by hearing from Krishna from his
can one
devotee
understand the science of
can
Krishna.
one understand the science of
Shri
Krishna.
Guru Vastika prayers ki jai. The Spirit's Master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as a cloud pours water on the forest fire to extinguish it.
The Spiritual Master receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as a cloud pours water on forest fire to extinguish.
So the Spiritual Master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence.
So the Spiritual Master delivers the material afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a Spiritual Master who is an ocean of auspicious qualities.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a Spiritual Master who is in ocean of
Chanting the
auspicious
holy name,
qualities.
dancing in ecstasy, singing and playing musical instruments.
Chanting the holy name, dancing in ecstasy, singing and playing musical
The Spiritual
instruments.
Master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu,
The Spiritual Master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan movement, the Lord
because he is relishing the mellows of pure devotion within his mind.
Because he's relishing the mellows of pure devotion within
Sometimes
his
his hair stands on end.
mind. Sometimes his hair
He
stands
feels
on end.
quivering in his
He
body,
feels quivering
and
in
tears
his
flow
body,
from his eyes like waves.
and tears flow from his eyes like
I offer my
waves.
respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a Spiritual Master.
I offer my respectful blessings into Lord of the such.
The Spiritual Master is always engaged in the temple worship of Shri Radha and Krishna.
The Spiritual Master is always engaged in the worship of Sri Radha and Krishna.
He also engages his disciples in such worship.
He also engages his disciples in such
They
worship.
dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments,
They dress the deities in beautiful clothes,
clean their
ornaments,
temple,
clean the temple,
and perform other similar worship of the
and
Lord.
perform other similar
I
worship.
offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a Spiritual
I offer my
Master.
respectful blessings into Lord of the
The Spiritual Master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious
The
food.
Spiritual Master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious
Analyzes
food.
that which is licked, chewed, drunk, and sucked.
And those are that which is lectured, drunk, and
When the Spiritual Master sees that the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavad Prasad,
the Spiritual Master sees that devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavad Prasad.
he is satisfied.
He is satisfied.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a Spiritual Master.
I offer my respectful blessings unto the Lord of such.
The Spiritual Master is always eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conjugal pastimes of Radhika and
The
Madhava,
Spiritual Master was eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conjugal pastime of Radhika Madhava
and their qualities, names, and forms.
and the qualities, names, and
The Spiritual Master aspires to relish these at every moment.
The Spiritual Master aspires to relish
I
these
offer my
at every
respectful
moment.
obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a Spiritual Master.
I offer my respectful blessings unto Lord of such a
The Spiritual Master is very dear because he's expert at assisting the gopis who at different times make different tasteful arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs within the groves of Vrindavana.
The Spiritual Master is very dear because he's expert in assisting the gopis who in different times make different tasteful arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna conjugal loving affairs within the
I offer
groves.
my most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a Spiritual Master.
I offer my most humble blessings unto Lord of such a Spiritual Master.
The Spiritual Master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord because he is the most confidential servitor of the Lord.
The Spiritual Master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord because he's the most confidential servitor of the
This
Lord.
is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all
This is
authorities.
acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities.
Therefore, I form my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a Spiritual Master who is a bona
Therefore,
fide
I offer my
representative of
respectful
Shri Hare Krishna.
Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisance unto Lord to such a Spiritual Master who is a bona fide representative of Sri Hare Krishna.
By the mercy of the Spiritual Master, one receives the benediction of Krishna.
By the mercy of the Spiritual Master, one receives the
Without the
benediction.
grace of the Spiritual Master, one cannot make any advancement.
Without the grace of the Spiritual Master, one cannot.
Therefore, I should always remember and praise the Spiritual Master.
Therefore, I should always remember and praise the Spiritual
At least 3
Master.
times a day, I should offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of my Spiritual
At
Master.
least 3 times a day, I should offer my respectful blessings to Lord.
Shri Brahma Samhita ki jai, Ishwara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Nadiradi Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam.
Ishvara Parama Krishna Sakchit Ananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana
Chintamani Prakara Satma Sukalpa Vriksha
Chintamani Prakada Sadma Sukalpa
Laksha Britesa Surabhira Vipaliantam
Laksha Vritesha Surabhira Vipalayantam
Lakshmi Sahasra Satasambrahma
Lakshmi
Sevyamanam
Sahasra Tasambram Sevim
Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamam
Venam Kvananta Arvinda Dalayataksham
Venum Kvananta Maravinda Dalayata
Varhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam
Varham Vata Samasitam Buddha Sundar
Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Visesha Sobham
Kandarpa Koti Kamani Vishesha
Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham
Alola Chandrakala Sadvanamalya Vamsi
Alula Chandra Kalasarvanamalya Vamsi
Ratnam Gadam Pranayakeli Kalavilasam
Rananga Damprana Yakeli Kala
Shyamam Tribanga Lalitani Yataprakasam
Shamam Tribhangala Litamni Yata
Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham
Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Vrittimanti
Angani Yasha Sakalindriya
Pasyanti Panti Kalayanti Chiram Jaganti
Pasyanti Panti Kalayanti
Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya
Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala
Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham
Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam
Adaitam Achyutam Anadim
Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha
Adyam Purana Purusham
Vedesa Durlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhakto
Vedesha Durlabham Durlabham
Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham
Pantastukoti Satavatsara Sampragamyo
Pantastukoti Satavatsara Sampradam
Vayuratapi Manaso Munipungamanam
Vayuratapi Manaso Munipungama
Sopyasti Yat Prapadasim Yavichintya Tatve
Sopyasti Yat Prapadasim Javichintya
Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi
Ekopya Sora Chaitam Jagadanda Kotim
Ekapya Sodhistum Jagananda
Yes Chaktirasti Jagadanda Chaya Yadanta
Shaktirasti Jagananda
Andantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam
Andantarasta Paramuchaya
Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham
Yad Bhava Bhavita Diyo Manajasta
Jal Bhava Bhavito Diyo
Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanayana Bhusaha
Samprapya Rupa Mahima
Suktaryameva Nigama Pratitaistuvanti
Sukte Yameva Nigama
Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham
Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitavis
Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavita
Tabirya Eva Nijarupa Tayakalabi
Abhirya Eva
Bihi
Nijarupa Tayakala
Goloka Eva Nivasata Kilatma Bhuto
Goloka Eva Nisatya Kilatma Bhutto
Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham
Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena
Premanjana Churita Bhakti
Santak Sadeva Hidesu Vilokayanti
Santasadeva Yesu
Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam
Yam Syama Sundaram Achinta
Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham
Ramadi Murti Sukalani Menatistan
Ramadi Mutti Shukalani Yamena Tishtan
Nana Avatara Makarod Bhuvanesa Kintu
Nana Avatara Makarod Bhuvaneshu
Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramaha Pumamyo
Krishna Swayam Sambhavat Paramapumam
Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham
Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagananda Koti
Yasa Prabha Prabhuvato
Koti
Jagannath
Svasesu Asudadi Vibhuti Binam
Kotya Shesha Vasudari
Tad Brahmaniskalam Anantam Ashesa Bhutam
Tad Brahmani Skalamanantam Shesha
Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi
Maya hi Yasya Jagananda Satani Sute
Maya Yasa Stani
Traigunya Tad Vishaya Veda Vitayamana
Traigunatar Vishaya Veda Vitaya
Sattva Valambi Parasatvam Visuddha Sattvam
Sadva Valambi Parasattam
Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham
Ananda Chinmaya Rasatmataya Manasu
Ananda Chimaya Rasatmataya
Ya Praninam Patifalam Smaratam Upetya
Ya Praninam Pratispalam Smaratam Upeti
Lilaya Tena Bhuvanani Jayat Yajasram
Lila Itena Bhuvanani
Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham
Golokanamni Nitidamni Talechatasya
Golo Kanamni Nijata
Devi Mahesa Haritama Sute Sutesu
Devi Mahesha Haridama Shutesh
Tete Prabhava Nichaya Vitaschayena
Tete Prabhava Nichaya
Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Shristi Stati Pralaya Sadhana Saktireka
Shiti Shiti Pralaya Sada
Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga
Eva Yasya Bhuvana
Ichana Rupam Apiyasya Chachestatesa
Ichanu Rupam Apiyasya
Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham
Shiram Yata Dadi Vikara Visesa Yoga Sanjayate Nahitata Pritakasti Hetoho
Sanjayate Nahiyata Pritaka
Yasam Bhutam Apitata Samapaitikarya
Yasambutam Apitata
Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham
Diparchadeva Hitasantaram Abhyapetya
Dipachi Eva Nisatantaramamupetya
Dipayate Vivita Hetu Samanu Dharma
Dipayite Vivita Hetu Samana
Yastadrigeva Hicha Vishnu Taya Vibhati
Yastadrik Eva Icha Visutaya
Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham
Yakarna Narna Vajale Bhajati Sma Yoga
Yakana Nana Valisha Bashas
Nidramananta Jagadanda Saroma Kupaha
Nidram Ananta Jagananta
Adhara Shakti Mavalambya Paramsma Murtim
Adara Shakti Mavalam Param
Govindamadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindamadi Purusham
Yasyaika Nisvasita Kala Matavalambya
Yasheka Nivasita Kala
Jivanti Loma Villaja Jagadanda Nataha
Jivanti Loma Villaja Jagananta
Vishnur Mahansahi Yasya Kala Vishesho
Vishnu Mahansaya Shakala
Govindamadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindamadi Purusham
Basman Yatasma Sakalesu Nijesu Tejaha
Basman Yatasma Sakalishu
Swiyam Kiyat Prakatayat Apitadvatatra
Sriyam Kiyat Prakatajat Apida
Rama Ya Esa Jagadanda Vidana Karta
Brahma Esha Jagananda
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindamadi Purusham
Yat Pada Palava Yugam Vinidaya Kumbha
Yapada Palava Yugam
Dvande Pranama Samayesa Ganadi Raja
Dvande Pranama Samayesa
Vignam Vihantam Alamasya Jagatrayasya
Vignam
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Agnir Mahika Ganamambu Marudisascha
Anima Yekana Ambu Maludas
Kalastatatma Manasitti Jagatrayani
Kalasatatma Manasita
Yasmad Bhavanti Vibhavanti Vishanti Yamcha
Yasmad Bhavanti Bhavanti
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yaschaksuresa Savita Sakalagrahanam
Yashakshuri Shasavita Sakala
Raja Samasta Suramurti Rasesa Tejaha
Rajasamasa Suramu
Yasyagaya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakra
Yashavani Samvita
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindamadi Purusham
Dharmota Papa Nichaya Srutayastapamsi
Dharmota Papa Nichayas
Rama Dikita Patagava Dayasta Jivaha
Ramadi Kita Padakava
Yadata Matra Vibhava Prakata Prabhava
Yadata Mata Vibhava
Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindamadi Purusham
Yastindra Gopa Matavindra Mahoswakarma
Yasvinda Gopa Matavindra
Bandan Urupa Falabhajana Matanoti Karmani Nirdahati Kintu Chibhakti Bhajam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yam Krodha Kama Sahaja Pranayadi Biti Vatsalya Moha Guru Gaurava Sevya Bhava Hai Sanchintya Tasya Sadhusim Tanamapurete Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Shriya Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpataravo
Shriya Kanta Kanta Parama Purusha
Druma Bhumish Chintamani Ganamayi Toyam Amritam
Druma Bhumi Chintamani
Kataganam Natyam Gamanam Apivam Sipriyasaki
Kataganam Nichaganam
Chid Anandam Jyoti Param Apitad Asvadyam Apicha
Chidanandam Jyoti Parama Matara
Sayatra Shiradi Bihi Sravati Surabhi Bhyascha Sumahan
Sayatya Kirabi Swarati Surabi
Nime Sardak Yuva Vrajati Nahyatra Pitsamaya
Nimir Sakti Kyoris Vrajina
Bajay Svita Dvipam Tamaham Iha Golakamitiyam
Shvita Rupam Tamaham
Vidantaste Santakshiti Viravachara Katipaye
Vedanta Santa Kiti
Shri Upanishad Ki Jai Ishwara Om Purnam Adab Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamidashati Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamidam
Ishavaishamidam Sarvam Jatkinja Jagatyam Jagatena Taktena Punjitaha Mahagritaha Kasasviddanam
Isavashamidam Sarvam Yatkinch Jagatyam Jagat Dena Tektena Punjita Magrida Kasas
Kurvaneva Karmani Jajiva Chekchatam Samaha Evam Tvayi Nanyatetus Dina Karma Lipitena Re
Kurvameveya Karmani Viviji Chakshata Samaha Evam Trayi Nanyati Istu De Karma Lipyate Nare
Asuya Namate Loka Andena Tamasam Vritaha Tamste Pritya Bhikichanti Yeki Chatmahano Janaha
Asurya Namate Loka Andena Tamasabrita Tamste Pratibhya Vikachanti Yeke Chatmahano
Anujadika Manaso Javio Nena Devam Apravam Pravam Asata Davatu Nyana Teti Tastatas Minapo Matavisra Dadati
Anejari Kamanaso Jiviyo Nenam Deva Anupam Puvam Sasta Tadavatuniam Itietista Tamin Apu Matisra
Tadechiti Tanejati Tadure Tadvantike Tadantarasya Sarvasya Tadu Sarvasya Shalbayataha
Tarijati Tam Nejati Tadure Antike Tarantar Asya Sarvasya Taru Sarvasya Shabayata
Yastu Sarvani Bhutani Atmaneva Nupasyati Sarvabhute Suchatmanam Taturna Vichagupsate
Yastu Sarvani Bhutani Almani Evanupasati Sarvabhute Shucharmanam Tato Na Vijugupsate
Yasmin Sarvani Bhutani Atmeva Bud Vijanataha Tatarko Mahak Kahasoka Ekatvam Anupasyataha.
Yalmi Sarvani Bhutani Admava Bhut Vijanataha Tatruna Mohaka Shoka Ekavam Anupatstata Vishakshire
Sambhutim cha vinasam cha yastad velo vayam saha vinasena miritum tirva sambhutam ritamasnute
Samutim Cha Vinasham Cha Yasta Vido
Kristaye.
Iranmayena Patina Satyaya Pititamukam Tatram Pusham Avavino Satya Dharmajarutaye
Kusanika seyama surya pujapatya vyuha rasmin samahate jo yate rupam kalyanatamam tate pasyami yo savaso purushaha soham asmi.
Pusane Kashyama Surya Prajapatya Viyu Rasmin Samunatejo Yete Rupam Kalyana Tamam Tate Pushami Jesa Asokrusha
Vayuranilamam amritam atedam basmantam sarinam om kratos smara kritam smara kratos smara kritam smara.
Bayurani Lamam Ritam
Iswani deva vayunani vidvan yo dajmas juhuranam inobuyastam te nama utim vidima tatsat.
O Amnena Yasu Patare Isman Videva Vayuna Vidvan
But Lord Krishna, as being the Supreme Lord, otherwise how was it possible for him to kill a giant demon like Putana when he was just on the lap of his mother, to overturn a cart with his leg when he was only 3 months old, to uproot a pair of Arjuna trees so high that they touched the sky when he was only crawling? All these activities are impossible for anyone other than the Lord himself. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we're continuing on again, but hear about the unique qualities of Lord Krishna. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur lectured on the first, on Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, first verse, for 3 months on that one verse. And that's normal because that one verse contains everything about Krishna. So it's not surprising that we're spending about 6, 7, 8, maybe 10 days on this one verse, because this one verse also talks about the absolute unique qualities of Krishna, which is absolutely necessary to understand if you want to be a devotee. People who doubt any of this information never actually become genuine devotees, because somehow or other, due to enviousness of Krishna, they don't want to hear this, they don't want to understand it, because otherwise a person who's rational will be forced to surrender to the Lord. Therefore, they avoid these subjects. They avoid going into all this detail because they want to continue having sense gratification, because they would have to give up sense gratification and replace it with hearing and chanting about the glories of the Lord. So yesterday we heard some amazing things, and I'm going to go over that a little bit and then go forward. The Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd Canto, 9th chapter, 34th verse. This is the last verse of the 4 nutshell verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. In other words, these 4 verses, 31, 32, 33, and 34, chapter 2, in 9th chapter, 2nd Canto, are the fundamental verses around which the whole Bhagavatam is spoken. These are the 4 nutshell verses, just like in the Bhagavad Gita. The 4 nutshell verses are in the 10th canto, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th verse. So the 2nd canto, 9th chapter, verses 31, 32, 33, and 34 are also the 4 nutshell verses of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. So I'm not going to read it from the beginning, but because we discussed that for 2 days also. But there was one thing that I wanted to go over again. And Prabhupada says in the purport to 2.9.34, the Lord is the original source of all emanations, and everything that is created, maintained, and annihilated exists by the energy of the Lord. The sane man who knows this is actually learned, and therefore he becomes a pure devotee of the Lord, engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So, what does it mean to become a pure devotee? Number one, understand that Krishna is the original source of all emanations. That means all the Balaram and the 2 Chaturvyuhas and Narayana, and then the Vishnu incarnations, and all the incarnations in the material world, like there's Kurma and Matsya and Narashinga and so forth, and then Parasuram, and then all the jivas, the living entities, and then the material energy itself, the whole material creation with Brahma and Shiva and all the demigods, and then the Virat Rupa, it encompasses the whole material creation, and the time, and Swabhava, and Samskara, and the karma, and gunas, and kama. All these things are expansions of Krishna. There's nothing that is not an expansion of Krishna. So he's the original source of all emanations. And secondly, everything that is created, maintained, annihilated, exists by the energy of the Lord. That is, the whole material creation is the energy of the Lord. And then a sane man who knows this is actually learned. Therefore, he becomes a pure devotee of the Lord, engaged in transcendental loving service of the Lord. So this is an extremely important little paragraph. Although the reflectory energy of the Lord displays various illusions to the eyes of persons with a poor fund of knowledge, the sane person knows clearly that the Lord can act even from far, far beyond our vision by his different energies, just as fire can diffuse heat and light from a distant place. In the medical science of the ancient sages, known as the Ayurveda, there is definite acceptance of the Lord's supremacy in the following words. So whenever you read a book on Ayurveda, they never mention this. I've never seen one. I mean, maybe I haven't read enough about Ayurveda. I'm not an Ayurvedic doctor. I didn't study it in depth. But the little I've read, I've never seen this point made. But this is the most important point. And it says, Jagat Yonir Anityasya Chid Anandaika Rupina, and so forth. Pumso Stri Prakritir Nitya Pratichayeva Basvataha. So this is a verse from the Ayurveda. And it says, there is one supreme person who is the progenitor of this cosmic manifestation and whose energy acts as Prakriti, or the material nature, dazzling like a reflection. By such illusory action of Prakriti, even dead matter is caused to move by the cooperation of living energy of the Lord, and the material world appears like a dramatic performance to the ignorant eyes. This is an amazing verse, and it's in the Ayurveda, and nobody ever quotes it that writes big books, big thick books like this on Ayurveda. They never. I mean, I've never seen it. If you know about it, let me know. So Prabhupada says, the ignorant person, therefore, may even be a scientist or physiologist in the drama of Prakriti, while the sane person knows Prakriti as the illusory energy of the Lord. In other words, the scientists and the physiologists and the anthropologists and the evolutionists and all these guys, they're all bewildered by the illusory representation of the material world. And they're studying it, which goes deeper into illusion, by studying it and thinking that it's the only reality, because all the scientists nowadays, almost all of them, say that there's only matter. There's no such thing as spirit. If there is something that's a spirit, it's something that's made from matter. So they cancel the whole spiritual world, Krishna and everything else, and they just believe that there's only matter, and they spend their whole time studying matter. Whereas here it says, there is one supreme person who is the progenitor of this cosmic manifestation. In other words, Krishna is the creator of the whole cosmic manifestation, and whose energy acts as Prakriti, or the material nature, dazzling like a reflection. By such illusory action of Prakriti, even dead matter is caused to move by the cooperation of living energy of the Lord. So in other words, when a soul is present in the material world, it becomes covered by the material energy, And all of a sudden you think that the material energy is actually alive, but it's actually not the material energy itself that's alive. It's the soul that makes it look like it's alive, right? So therefore the scientists, they say there's only matter. And when they study something like, trying to find a cure for cancer or for heart attacks or for diabetes, they're only looking at matter. Or when even they look at the brain, they think that the muscles and the blood vessels and everything in the brain is the brain. But that's not a fact. The brain is something, the mind is something subtle. It is not made of veins and corpuscles and different things like that, and muscles. So they're looking at something, thinking that it is the thing, but actually it's not the thing. And that's why, for example, why is it that for the last 60, 80 years they've been collecting money to heal cancer, and cancer has not been healed? Ask yourself the question. Because they insist on finding the cure of cancer through genetic mutations, or by fixing the genes somehow or other. That's impossible. That's why they keep collecting every year for cancer, because they're looking in the wrong place. They're trying to do something, find a cure that is impossible through genetic manipulation. See? The cause of cancer, people have known the cause of cancer. There was this famous doctor named Dr. Warburg, who was actually was a Jew, but he was not killed by the Nazis because he was doing what they considered important scientific work. And he continued to do that scientific work all through World War II for the Nazis, right? Even though he was a Jew. They knew he was a Jew, but they protected him. Although there were some that wanted to kill him, but Hitler wouldn't allow it. It's amazing. So anyway, he said the cause of cancer is very simple. It's a collective accumulation over time of toxic materials. What are those toxic materials? There was an article yesterday in the news that says that phthalates cause cancer. And they're in all plastics and in cosmetics and in supplements. They're all over the place. And they cause cancer. And because of that, it lessens the lifespan of a human being. If you want, look it up. Look up phthalates, P-H-A-L-T-A-T-E-S, phthalates, in the news. It was in the news yesterday. And I've known about this for at least 40 years, right? Because I came in contact with phthalates when I was in France and making perfumes. They always use it as a solvent in all major perfumes. Okay. So here we see that something that's a known cancer agent is it's everywhere in food, in cosmetics, in plastics, and there's plastics everywhere, right? Do you see that? Phthalates cause cancer. Anyway, I forgot to bring my phone. All right, so. What?
The spelling of this is F or P? It starts with phthalates.
No, P-H-A-L-T-A-T-E-S. P-H-A-L-T-A-L-T-H-E. T-A-L-T-H-E. Okay. Anyway, so here it says, it's a verse from the Ayurveda, there is one supreme person who is the progenitor of this cosmic manifestation and whose energy acts as Prakriti, or the material nature, dazzling like a reflection. By such illusory action of Prakriti, even dead matter is caused to move by the cooperation of living energy of the Lord, and the material world appears like a dramatic performance to the ignorant eyes. Did you find it? No? Okay, forget about it. I'll bring it tomorrow. So here we see, this is an amazing verse from the Ayurveda. What is it saying basically? He says, by such illusory action of Prakriti. Even dead matter is caused to move by the cooperation of the living energy of the Lord. So matter is dead. It's not conscious, right? But it looks conscious when the soul is covered by the matter. And then it looks as, that can be a plant, that can be an insect, that can be a worm, that can be any of the 8,400,000 species. And therefore, people think that matter is conscious, and they reject the existence of the soul. If you go to a doctor and you say, do you accept the existence of the soul? He says, well, that's a religious thing. You can believe in that. I'm not going to tell you not to believe in it. But we're just concerned with, the veins and the arteries and this thing and that thing. So they're not interested in hearing about the soul because they can't identify it. Although it's perfectly clear that when the soul is present in the body, someone's alive, and when the soul leaves the body, they're dead. But the same body is still there. All the veins and muscles and organs are still there, but they can't bring it back alive. Okay.
There's something I found.
Yeah.
Maybe it is related.
What's it saying?
The title says daily phthalate exposure may lead to roughly 100,000 premature deaths.
Yeah, that's the article.
Older Americans.
A year. Premature deaths, 100,000 to 150,000 premature deaths a year.
Among older Americans.
Yeah.
So it says daily exposure to chemicals called phthalates, which are used in manufacture of plastic food containers and many cosmetics, may lead to roughly 100,000 premature deaths among old Americans each year.
Why? Because as Dr. Warburg said, this is back in the 1920s, he said the cause of cancer is the slow, cumulative process of contaminants, such as there's Clorox, there's all kinds of contaminants, in our food, in the air, and in building materials, and in cosmetics, and in different materials like carpets and paint. They're all over the place. They're all the inorganic chemicals are all over the place. Ever since they started making inorganic chemicals way back in the beginning of the 19th century, even in the 18th century, they've been using these things in medicines. Even in medicines, they use it, right? And they're all dangerous. And this slow cumulative buildup of these toxins in the body causes cancer and other problems too. Okay, you want to read a little bit more?
So then I will skip a little bit and then for
Okay.
decades, phthalates have been shown to pose a potential danger to human health because the chemicals can interfere with the function of hormones, which are signaling compounds made in glands that circulate to influence process throughout the body.
Okay, so you get the idea. It's a toxin, and it builds up gradually in human beings. And then, when you get older, then it zaps you, and you die younger than you should have. And it's happening all over the world because phthalates are present everywhere. It's a fantastic dissolvent, right?
Is it in the food as well?
Yeah. If you ever buy Amla Amrit, or they sell these big bottles of Amla.
Amla murabba.
Murabba, yeah, Amla Murabba has all junk in it. And they say you take this every day for your health, right? But the Amla Murabba has got preservatives and all kinds of things. It's got phthalates in it, it's everything, right? Everything for dying young. And they claim that it's keep you, young forever.
This is very popular one.
Of course, Amla Murabba, yeah. You see how dangerous material life is? And you know, the cure for cancer is not a complicated thing. You have to completely give up contact with all toxic materials. And all toxic materials include, you know, building materials and foods and plastics. Plastics are everywhere. Right? But, you know, nobody listens. You know, they go along. The plastics are cheap, so they like to use them, you know. Before, in Vedic times, they would eat either, poor people would eat on banana leaves, and rich people would eat off of silver plates. They never, you either use metal, but, you know, precious metal, or they use leaves, but they would never use anything else. And the poor people would also use leaves, right, for cups and different things, and bowls. They were all made out of leaves, right?
And clay as well.
And clay, yeah. The clay seed, that could be a potential problem, because clay has sometimes toxic things in it, you know, naturally occurring in the earth, right? So you see how India, up until maybe 40 years ago, was basically ecological, right? Then they came in with all the plastics, all the plastic bags and all that stuff, and they made the plastic containers, and now it's a mess. It's a complete mess.
And now they have started banning the plastic in some areas.
Yeah, because it's dangerous. It's ruining the environment. Yeah. The ignorant person, therefore, may even be a scientist or physiologist in the drama of Prakriti, while the sane person knows Prakriti as the illusory energy of the Lord. By such a conclusion, as confirmed by the Bhagavad Gita, it is clear that the living entities are also a display of the Lord's superior energy, para Prakriti, just as the material world is a display of the Lord's inferior energy, apara Prakriti. The superior energy of the Lord cannot be as good as the Lord, although there is very little difference between the energy and the possessor of the energy, or the fire and the heat. Fire is possessed of heat, but heat is not fire. This simple thing is not understood by the man with a poor fund of knowledge, who falsely claims that the fire and heat are the same. This energy of the fire, namely heat, is explained here as a reflection and not directly fire. Therefore, the living entity represented by the living entities, therefore, the living energy represented by the living entities is the reflection of the Lord and never the Lord himself. So this is the philosophy behind rejecting all man gods in India. All of them. Because it's nonsense what people have done. They're accepting the heat as the fire. But it's just an energy of the fire. It's not the full fire, you see. So just because somebody can produce some basma and give it to you and say, take this home and your business will do better, right? So they take it home and the business starts doing better. But of course, it's only 1 in 1,000 where it actually happens. But that's called the Asirbat business. The more Asirbats the so-called man god gives, the better the chance for one person to hit the jackpot. And if one person hits the jackpot out of 1,000, he becomes God. Because he'll write a book about how, you know, Guru Dev gave me this basma, and now I'm a millionaire. Right? And then all the other 999,000 idiots, you know, they say, oh, wow, then I'm going to go back to Guru Dev, you know, and get the Asirbat. So he becomes God by 1 in 1,000. So that's why he's giving Asirbat to hundreds and thousands of people, because only one of them has to hit the jackpot, he becomes God. This is how stupid people are. Yeah. So this energy of the fire, namely heat, is explained here as a reflection and not directly fire. Therefore, the living energy represented by the living entities is the reflection of the Lord and never the Lord himself. Being the reflection of the Lord, the existence of the living entity is dependent on the Supreme Lord, who is the original light. This material energy may be compared to darkness, as actually it is darkness, and the activities of the living entities in the darkness are reflections of the original light. This is very, very profound knowledge. Most people are sleeping right now, and they're not hearing it. And that's a great tragedy, because this is what makes a person a pure devotee, by understanding these things. The Lord should be understood by the context of this verse. Non-dependence of both the energies of the Lord is explained as Maya, or illusion. In other words, what did we read yesterday from Jean-Paul Sartre, the French philosopher? What did he say? He said, everyone is condemned to be independent. Right? This is the complete opposite of what's being said here. Right? And people believe it. They read these phony philosophers, and they believe it, and it ruins their lives. Right? Many people's lives have been ruined by Sartre and other so-called materialistic existentialists, philosophers who also only believe that there's matter and nothing like spirit. The Lord should be understood by the context of this verse. Non-dependence of both the energies of the Lord is explained as Maya, or illusion. No one can make a solution of the darkness of ignorance simply by the reflection of light. Similarly, no one can come out of material existence simply by the reflected light of the common man. One has to receive the light from the original light itself. The reflection of sunlight in the darkness is unable to drive out the darkness. But the sunlight outside the reflection can drive out the darkness completely. In the darkness, no one can see the things in a room. Therefore, a person in the dark is afraid of snakes and scorpions, although there may not be such things. But in the light, the things in the room can be clearly seen, and the fear of snakes and scorpions is at once removed. Therefore, one has to take shelter of the light of the Lord, as in the Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam, and not the reflective personalities who have no touch with the Lord. No one should hear Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam from a person who does not believe in the existence of the Lord. Such a person is already doomed, and any association with such a doomed person makes the associator also doomed. So this eliminates, the Mahesh Yogi. This eliminates this Nityananda. This eliminates Muktananda. This eliminates Ma Amritamayi. This eliminates all of them. They're just reflections in the darkness of the Absolute. They're not the Absolute themselves. Right. According to the Padma Purana, with the material compass, within the material compass, there are innumerable material universes. Now, this word compass is a complicated word. Usually you think of a compass that shows you where the north is, right? But compass also means something that includes many things inside of it, right? Or it's like the perimeter of an area, or a boundary of a country. So that's also the meaning of compass. See, so in English can be a confusing language, because a word like this, which has such a specific meaning for most people, actually has many other meanings in the English language. And here it's being used in a different way, where Prabhupada says, within the material compass, which means within the boundaries of the material world, or Prakriti, there are innumerable material universes, and all of them are full of darkness. Any living being, beginning from the Brahmas, there are innumerable Brahmas in innumerable universes, to the insignificant ant, are all born in darkness, and they require factual light from the Lord to see him directly, just as the sun can be seen only by the direct light of the sun. No lamp or man-made torchlight, however powerful it may be, can help one see the sun. Yeah, like you can get a really powerful flashlight, right? And you turn it on, and it only lights up a little bit. It doesn't light up all the darkness. So that's what he means, that what we're seeing is the reflection of light in darkness. You're not actually seeing the light. You're only seeing a little reflection. Every human being is a little reflection of God. He's not God. Just like the flashlight, it can light up a little bit, but it can't eliminate the darkness. See? So, therefore, but the scientists and the philosophers and all these guys, they're all taking the reflection of the light in the darkness as the light. And they're misleading everybody. See? Just as the sun can be seen only by the direct light of the sun, no lamp or man-made torchlight, however powerful it may be, can help one see the sun. The sun reveals itself. Therefore, the action of the different energies of the Lord or the personality of Godhead himself can be realized by the light manifested by the causeless mercy of the Lord. The impersonalists say that God cannot be seen. God can be seen by the light of God. You know who says that? The Jews say that. They say you cannot see God. And you cannot represent his form, which for most people means he has no form. And you cannot even say his name. That's another thing they say. You can't say his name. So they have names for God, but those are just approximations. They're not the real name. It's a secret. So all this because they have deviated, although they've deviated from the Vedas, although some Vedic knowledge is in their religion, right? Because all knowledge comes from the Vedas, but they've deviated from it. They've made it into something that it's not. Just as, okay, so the sun reveals itself. Therefore, the action of the different energies of the Lord or the personality of God himself can be realized by the light manifested by the causeless mercy of the Lord. The impersonalists say that God cannot be seen. God can be seen by the light of God and not by man-made speculations. Here, this light is specifically mentioned in Vidyat, which is an order by the Lord to Brahma. This direct order of the Lord is a manifestation of his internal energy. And this particular energy is the means of seeing the Lord face to face. So what is the internal energy of the Lord? He's talking about Hiladini Shakti, or Satchitananda. So Satchitananda. Ananda is the Hiladini Shakti, and Sat is eternity, and Chit means spiritual knowledge. So this is the real light. It's not the PhD's theory of this or the PhD's theory of that. That's not the real light. That's the reflection of light in darkness. Not only Brahma, but anyone who may be graced by the Lord to see such merciful, direct internal energy can also realize the personality of Godhead without any mental speculation. So when he's talking about this direct internal energy, he's talking about devotional service. Radharani represents the perfection of devotional service. And now, okay, so that was yesterday, but by you hearing it right now, it's like you're hearing it for the first time, right? Because there's so many details in what we read yesterday that's hard to digest it all and understand it. Do you remember hearing this yesterday?
I think some part was new. I think we did halfway, yes.
Okay. So now we'll go back to 2:9:31. I said the four nutshell verses are 2:9:31, 32, 33, and 34. And Krishna is speaking, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Jnanam Parama Guyam Me, Yad Vijnana Samanvitam, Sarahasyam Tad Angam Cha Grahana Gaditam Maya. The personality of God had said, knowledge about me, as described in the scriptures, is very confidential. So he says, what's the Sanskrit? It says, Jnanam Paramaguyam Me. It's the supreme, Paramaguyam, the supreme secret. Well, he says this in Bhagavad Gita also. In the 9th chapter, what does he say? He says, Raja Vidya, Raja Guyam. Right? So this is the king of all secrets. So here it says, knowledge about me as described in the scriptures is very confidential, and it has to be realized in conjunction with devotional service. So, unless a person actually engages in devotional service, they'll never understand Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. And it has to be realized in conjunction with devotional service. The necessary paraphernalia for that process is being explained by me. You may take it up carefully. Lord Brahma is the topmost devotee of the Lord within the universe. And therefore, the personality of Godhead replied to his four principal inquiries in four important statements. So Brahma asked four fundamental questions. And most people don't understand any of this because they don't read carefully the Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam especially. So what are those four original questions that Brahma asked? And Prabhupada says here, and therefore the personality of Godhead replied to his four principal inquiries in four important statements, which are known as the original Bhagavatam in 4 verses. These were Brahma's questions. So these are the 4 nutshell verses, 2, 9, 31, 32, 33, and 34. 1. What are the forms of the Lord both in matter and in transcendence? Well, you see, that's a big question. How do you recognize the Lord in the material world? Well, that's explained in Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, where it says, Rasoham apsakonteya prabhasvi sasisuraya pranavasa sarvavedesud sabdeke puranam risu punyaganda pratimvyam cha punyagandam pratimvyam cha chejastasmi vibhavasu jivanam sarvabhutanam tapastasmi tapasvisu bijamam Vijamam Vidyate Sarvam, so forth. These are the verses in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, explaining how to see Krishna in the material energy. So therefore he says, this is Brahma's questions, he says, number 1, what are the forms of the Lord both in matter and in transcendence? Either in the material world or the spiritual world. What are the forms of the Lord? 2, how are the different energies of the Lord working? 3, how does the Lord play with his different energies? And 4, how may Brahma be instructed to discharge the duty entrusted to him? These are 4 fundamental questions that Brahma asked Krishna. And then Prabhupada says, the prelude to the answers is this verse under discussion. Prelude means something that comes before. Wherein the Lord informs Brahma that knowledge of him, the supreme absolute truth, as it is stated in the revealed scriptures, is very subtle and cannot be understood unless one is self-realized by the grace of the Lord. Self-realized would mean you understand your original constitutional position as the eternal servant of the Lord. If a person comes, just like it says, what is the real swarup of the living entity? The Lord Chaitanya explained this to Rupa Goswami. He said, what is the real swarup of the living entity? It's to be the eternal servant of the Lord. That is our real swarup. That is our real constitutional position. Yeah. So, and it says, the Lord says that Brahma may take the answers as he explained, let's see. The Lord says that Brahma may take the answers as he explains them. This means that transcendental knowledge of the absolute supreme being can be known if it is made known by the Lord himself. So, when did the Lord himself make known about himself? It's called Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is speaking about himself. By the mental speculation of the greatest mundane thinkers, the absolute truth cannot be understood. The mental speculators can reach up to the standard of impersonal Brahman realization, but factually, complete knowledge of transcendence is beyond the knowledge of impersonal Brahman. So, like for example, if you take Spinoza, S-P-I-N-O-Z-A, he was a Jewish philosopher, a very famous one, I think in the 14th or 15th century. Right? He went up to the point of Brahman realization and not beyond. As it's saying here, the greatest mundane thinkers, by the speculation of the greatest mundane thinkers, the absolute truth cannot be understood. The mental speculators can reach up to the standard of impersonal Brahman realization, but factually, complete knowledge of transcendence is beyond the knowledge of impersonal Brahman. Thus, it is called the supreme confidential wisdom. In other words, Raja Guyam. It's the supreme secret, this Krishna consciousness knowledge. Very few people will understand it. And one of those people who did understand it is Srila Prabhupada. But he took the time to write it all down. But most people, they don't read, or if they read, they gloss over it. Just like, you get a course on speed reading. And people think, oh, I got it now. No, it's not like that. Every word here has huge meaning, and it takes a long time to actually digest it. Right? So the speed readers, they speed through it, and they never really digest the knowledge. They just get a general, very hazy idea. And there are also speed hearers. They hear a little something, they think they understand it, but they don't understand anything. Right? Okay, so we'll stop right there and continue tomorrow. And see how, when you get into this deeper philosophical knowledge, you have to go very slowly, because you can miss everything. Every word Prabhupada has chosen is perfect and profound. And to be able to digest this, you have to go very slowly and repeat it, and hear it, and see it from different perspectives to actually assimilate the actual full meaning, because the meaning is so big that we have to enlarge our consciousness to be able to comprehend it. Right? Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hari Bol.
Maharaj, on this fast reading, one of my known person, he was chanting and he was following Krishna conscious rules. So he started reading Bhagavatam, and he was very fast reader. Within a month, I think he read 3 or 4 cantos. And after that, one day he was discussing, and he said, "Are these stories real?" So because he's reading too fast.
Is what real?
He feels like sometimes
Toys? You said toys?
he was feeling like some stories are not real; they are like just made up somewhere.
Yeah.
Because he's reading too fast, and he's not digesting the information.
Yeah, of course.
So
So after reading 3 cantos, he's doubting the validity of the Bhagavatam. That's speed reading.
Yeah, but in nowadays SAT, ACT and all that's.
You have what?
In SAT and ACT.
In what? I don't know.
SAT and ACT exams, right?
S8.
Oh, SAT.
SAT and
You're slurring your words when you're speaking so fast. Go speak slower.
SAT.
S8. No, not SAT. It's SAT. It's not SAT. No, SAT. Say S.
Yes.
No, you're saying yes. No, it's S.
Yes.
It's just like, the Muslims, they say hand. They can't say the word sin. They say hand. Right? So you're saying isati. It's not isati. It's S-A-T.
Yes, 80.
No, again, S-A-T.
Yes.
No, you're saying yes. Stop saying yes.
Yes.
It's S-A-T. There's no E in there. There's S-A-T.
Yes, 80.
Now again, you said it.
Oh
Yes.
my God, I cannot do that.
All right, go ahead. Ask your question.
Question is, nowadays, the education is like that, Maharaj, because they give you a big para, and that para has to be completed in 8 minutes. And they give you a lot of things, but you cannot understand. They want to read fast. They read fast and answer it. They read fast and answer it. And that's how the education is going on.
Well, it's all about a show. It's a big show. It's a big drama. That's what Prabhupada said here. He used that word, this gigantic drama. And people are playing this drama every day in their lives. Where did he say that? He said that. Anyway, we read that. We'll go over it tomorrow again.
But why they do like that, Maharaj? What is the reason why everybody are doing? They give a lot of information, no time to digest nowadays.
Well, it's based on the idea that only a small elite number of people will understand, and they will be the what you would call the exploiters of all the others that didn't quite understand. So there's a small elite number of people that understand a little bit about how the material energy is working, but they understand that in order to exploit everybody else. Just like you have a CEO, he's one guy or one person, right? But he's exploiting the work of all the others. And when one of those people doesn't is not exploited enough, they fire them and put somebody else in there who's afraid, and they got to work like a crazy person to please the CEO. So there are a few people that understand things very quickly. They become the exploiters of the other people who don't understand. They were able to pass tests, but they didn't really understand the subject. Okay, so let's have Aarti. Yeah, it's just like you have Elon Musk. He understands things about how to get free money from the government, and using the government's money to make a company. And then he knows what things to make in order to keep getting money for free. You see, he's understood this game, how to do that. And people think he's a genius. But everything he's doing is for exploiting others. It's not really beneficial. Especially all this outer space research, it's actually zero. It'll have zero effect on the people. Zero benefit for the people. It's a game. But he knows how to play the system. Okay? And he's considered a genius. But actually, he's just an exploiter. He's not actually doing anything good. Okay, you lead.
Online also.
Okay, she also wanted to the microphone.